This is Ingredient Insiders. I'm John Magazzino.
And I'm Andrea Parkins.
On each episode of Ingredient Insiders, we'll be talking with chefs, food makers, and food writers about their favorite ingredients.
And then we'll talk to the producer of that ingredient. We want to learn its history, how it's made, and why chefs love to use it in their kitchens.
Today, we are in Arcata, California, up in Humboldt County.
Did you ever think you would come this far north in California, John?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
We are
but it's
up there
beautiful.
in the beautiful redwood forest area. They grow a lot of things in this place, not just baby
food.
Goats. We're going to be talking with Janne Rasmussen.
Yes, she is the head of marketing for Cypress Grove, which is an incredible goat cheese maker.
I love their cheeses. They have so many iconic cheeses.
I just watched you eat 2 plates of their cheeses,
They're
John.
very delicious. I have no regrets.
It's beautiful. I mean, I would say one of their most popular cheeses, Humboldt Fog, is named, for this very place. I mean,
it was foggy this morning.
It was. As we came in over the bridge, you can see the fog coming in, and that was kind of a cool moment.
And they've got Purple Haze and Midnight Moon and just amazing stuff. Probably one of the great cheesemakers of the United States, and I'm just so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Can't wait to be talking all about goat's milk with Janne Rasmussen at Cypress Grove.
This episode is in partnership with The Chef's Warehouse and produced by Gotham Production Studios in New York City.
Well, today we find ourselves in just the most idyllic, is that the right word?
I would call it like stunning.
Stunning, gorgeous.
Picturesque.
Clear blue skies.
Perfect temperature. Light breeze.
Yeah. Grass fields.
We are in Arcata, California.
Humboldt County.
Which is near Eureka.
Yes. Is this considered like extreme Northern California?
Yeah,
or is it pretty far north, right?
Yeah, I've heard that very few make it this far.
I think this is the most north in California I may have ever been.
100%.
It is absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. We're right on the coast, and we're very lucky today because we're at a very special place that I don't know that if I ever thought I would get here, but I've been a huge fan of these products and these cheeses for a very long time. Let's let the cat out of the bag. We are with Janne Rasmussen, who's the marketing manager for Cypress Grove Creamery. Am I saying all this right?
You've got it right.
Oh my gosh.
That's
a first.
Wow.
I got an intro right.
Nailed it.
So thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
We've been here for 2 days now. We drove up from Boonville, California yesterday morning, which is down in Mendocino County.
Took us about 3 hours north.
At least 3 hours with Andrea driving, and we pulled into this beautiful cheese making facility. And I have to tell you, I love these cheeses before we got here, but now I'm just like,
wow.
Yeah, wow. What a story, too.
Yeah, I mean, Janne, you told us yesterday, but could you kind of give us a little bit of the background of how Cypress Grove started?
Sure. It's a tale. It's a long tale. You all heard the long version.
Talk to us.
The shorter version is that the company was founded by Mary Keene in officially 1983, but things were, starting before then. And it's about a woman who followed her curiosity and followed her passion, really, and just kept on moving forward and wasn't afraid to fail or to do things the wrong way. She did them her own way. And then she taught all of us to do that in the process. And she started with a few goats that she caught, just hoping to have enough milk for her 2 daughters at the time, and ended up with more goats and more daughters in the process. And as a way to preserve that milk, she started making cheese.
So cool.
Taught herself to make cheese, made it up along the way, and fast forward a lot of years in a industry that grew in the United States around her. Here we are.
But she sounds like a really unique individual,
a cool
right?
person.
Kind of a little hippy dippy.
Yes.
Well, let's start off with, first of all, the first time I think I heard about these cheeses, early 2000s.
Yep.
And I think the first thing I saw was a cheese called either purple. I think it was purple haze. It's either Humboldt fog or purple haze, and I'm like, wow, like this just has, even before you taste it, it's got kind of like a cool aura about it. And you know, you're talking about Mary, who I've unfortunately never met and would love to have met. Seems like
such a cool lady.
She was a hippie, California, you know, in the 1970s, decides to move up to this part of the world, which is famous for, among other things, but like definitely an area where a lot of cannabis was being grown and a lot of like really cool counterculture stuff going on. And she was here making these amazing artisan cheeses. Yeah,
there's an off-the-grid culture in Humboldt County and Mendocino County that I think likely fueled it. There's a lot of small, really interesting businesses that have popped up in this community, and they have worldwide reach. So she was among those people and within that culture, but doing something different, not growing weed or hiding in the woods to do so. She was
just a lady with her goats.
Yeah, a lot of goats.
Yeah, the ingredient today is goat milk. We were lucky enough to go to the farm yesterday, and we got to meet some of these amazing, adorable goats. We got to meet 1-week-old goats.
Baby goats.
So precious.
They were so cute.
I wanted to take one home.
Yeah. I think I saw one in your room at the hotel.
John. We're going to check you on the way out.
She's actually waiting by the car right now.
No, but I think what I noticed about, I mean, John and I, we've done a lot of these visits, and we've seen a lot of farms. The farm was immaculate. It
smelled great.
It smelled great. It was beautiful. You can tell the goats were like playing with each other. They were having fun.
Yeah, they were happy goats.
They were happy goats.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool place.
I think I just named their next cheese the Happy Goat.
The Happy Goat? No.
It's a cliche, but it is especially true about goats. I think there's the happy cows.
Live in California.
Come from California. And unfortunately, you can somewhat abuse a cow and it will still give you milk. You cannot abuse a goat. They're too smart. They're too delicate. They won't take it. And they just shut the valves down. And I love that about goats. I think that is a great feature of them is they don't take that BS.
You're not getting my milk.
No. And so you do, I mean, we want, of course, to have people who want to treat the goats well, but they also will stand for nothing less. And I love that about them. And I think that's partly why a lot of women are in goat dairying. They vibe with the goats and they fall in love with them. They have such huge personalities.
I noticed that yesterday. Like, I asked that question because when we walked over to the areas where they were living, they would run over to us. Yeah. And I asked the woman, Allie, who was the farm manager, I was like, are they running over to us because they're hungry? And she said, no, I just fed them about an hour ago. They're running over, like they're curious, and I think they like human interaction.
Yeah, they like to be pet, right?
They're friendly.
Yeah, that's why there's one in the van right now that we're taking back with us.
John Jr.
Let's get a little in depth on goat's milk and goat's milk cheese. I haven't named her yet. It's a she. I think it's a she.
All right.
Well, maybe it is a male. Maybe
I don't know. I think like JJ.
Now we're really going to check you on the way out if you took a girl.
Exactly. I know I took a boy. So let's talk about goat's milk specifically, because goat's milk cheeses, and I learned this yesterday, they weren't as popular. Obviously, a lot of cheese in the United States and around the world is made with cow's milk.
Yeah.
And goat's milk and sheep's milk, these are things that maybe have come more into vogue, or they become a whole lot more popular more recently than traditional cow's milk.
I think in the last like 30 years, I would say.
That right?
In the U.S.
Yeah, in the U.S.
For sure.
Yeah, so there's also some really nice health benefits, I think. And I mentioned this yesterday. I've never been diagnosed as lactose intolerant, but whenever I have cow's milk, I kind of don't always feel great, and it's a little bloaty. I get like sinusy, and I don't have that effect with goat's milk. And is that due to some aspect with the milk itself? Is it that different than cow's milk?
We hear that a lot from consumers who have that same experience. We don't have anything from a doctor that says that.
Data.
We have, unfortunately, we cannot make a billboard of that.
Yeah.
But the individual experience is really important. And so many people have been able to enjoy cheese again because they discovered goat cheese.
I ate 2 platters of Cypress Grove cheeses yesterday.
I watched
and
it.
I know.
Love
I'm
that.
embarrassed. I shouldn't be admitting this, but
They were small samples.
Oh, yeah. There were plenty. It's
Sure.
like 2 pounds.
You're being generous, Yanni.
I felt like, no, but I felt like
Yeah.
no
You didn't
ill
feel-
effect. I didn't feel heavy,
Yeah.
weighed
No
down.
inflammatory response.
Yeah.
Nothing. I
Yeah.
felt great.
That's awesome.
And actually, the proof is also in the pudding. We're back here again today at the production facility, and I kind of want to eat some more
Well, you know what,
cheese.
John? When I went to go get our sunglasses, because it's just so darn sunny here,
Yeah.
there's a tasting waiting for us.
Oh, amazing.
When we're done
okay.
this.
I'm not complaining.
But I
More
want
food.
Yanni to take us through the Cypress Grove line.
Exactly.
Tell us
Oh.
about all the cheeses.
Okay, one more thing I
Okay.
want to say about our goat milk cheeses is that one big difference from a lot of the cow milk cheeses I enjoy is that they're made with whole milk. So goat milk is naturally homogenized. So when we bring it here from the dairy, it doesn't separate like cow milk where you get the cream and the milk separating.
Yep.
So we make the cheese with whole milk. We can treat it differently along the way to achieve different textural or flavor differences that taste like cream, but it's whole goat milk. And I think that's a difference too on how your body processes it.
I want
know.
to say one more thing too about goat's milk. That's a great point. These cheeses, for people who don't love goat's milk, because I think there's an association with kind of these like funkier, lamby, gamey, barnyardy flavors.
Yeah.
I find these cheeses, when you said the word creamy, I think a lot of people would be very hard pressed to know that they're actually goat's milk cheeses. It's like a very, I don't say neutral, it's a very
Yeah.
creamy flavor
Yeah.
that I wouldn't normally associate with goat's milk.
Yeah.
And, let's go through the line because there's so many great cheeses and talk about kind of their characteristics and flavor profiles and texture. I'm salivating as I say this.
Are you need a napkin?
I'm going to be okay. No,
Okay.
I'm okay.
So we have a full line of goat milk cheeses, starting with fresh goat cheeses. We call them fresh, but really all the cheeses that we make here at the creamery are relatively fresh when you compare them to a 2-year, Parmigiano Reggiano or something. So we are turning that milk into a solid, removing the whey, and then we have a fresh cheese. We add some herbs and seasonings on those fresh cheeses like purple haze, lavender, and fennel pollen. That's our most popular. Or our newest to the fresh line, Meyer lemon and honey. But we call them fresh because they're vacuum sealed. There's no secondary ripening that's happening on those cheeses. Fromage Blanc is the purest example of that. We don't even really put it into a retail ready packaging because that cheese is made to be an ingredient. Something else is going to happen with that, whether it's at home or in a restaurant.
So the fromage blanc is like a soft spreadable product. Comes in a plastic. How does it come?
It's a sealed bag, a 4-pound bag. So there's 2 4-pound bags in the case, and it has much higher moisture. And you all saw that just a few minutes ago. And that just means we expelled less of the whey out of the cheese. We left more in there, so it's more spreadable because it has more moisture in it.
What's a chef doing with fromage blanc, Andrea?
I think they're using it for fillings. They're using it on crostini. Definitely seasoning it. Obviously Cypress Grove is doing, things, they have their Sergeant Pepper, they have their psychedelic where they're, adding herbs and spices, but I think chefs are also adding their own, things to this cheese. I'm sure maybe making ice cream.
Oh.
What else? What do you think, John? Or Yanni? What have you seen people do with the
You're
fromage
talking
blanc?
to Johnny or Yanni?
Yanni and
Johnny
John.
and Yanni.
Sorry. John and Yanni.
I think that we are seeing that swap out. So we see it swapped out for cream cheese, swapped out for sour cream, dare I say swapped out for mayo, which kills me inside because I love mayo.
Me too. It's a table of mayo lovers.
Yes, welcome. It's the Dutch girl in me, you know.
Nice.
So we're seeing a lot of that. And then I think whipped cheeses are having a moment too. So you see that it becomes a bed for a fork and knife type salad, or a bed as kind of a dip or something.
Amazing. So that's kind of where the line starts, so to speak, with the fromage blanc.
Yep. That's the building blocks of the rest of the line that's made here. So what we're most known for is Humboldt Fog, which is a similar base recipe to, say, Miss Natural, which is the plain goat cheese in the disc form. But then we're forming it, adding the ash to it, and then growing that bloomy rind on the outside of the cheese. And that is adding a lot of elements to that cheese that will then go on to produce a lot of different flavors and textures, all the way down its 112-day shelf life.
So the Humboldt Fog, and this is not an understatement, I think it's amongst the greatest cheeses in the world, and certainly in the United States for cheeses that are produced here.
And it's definitely a top seller at Chef's Warehouse.
Very high at the top of the list. This is just something that is so unique, incredibly delicious. If you haven't tasted it, you can probably go to any retail market near you that has a good cheese selection and find the Humboldt Fog from Cypress Grove. And obviously the Chef's Warehouse has it in great demand or great supply all over the country. But this is a cheese that's very similar. It's unique, but it's also similar to, like, is it a French Morbier? Is that the cheese that...
Well, it has a line.
It has the
like
ash line in the center,
So it's got actually like a charcoaly ash. What is the ash made from?
It's 100% carbon.
Yeah, it's pure carbon, so odorless and flavorless, mostly there for looks.
Got it.
And as much as Humboldt Fog is delicious, it's like more than 3 cheeses in one.
Yeah.
A celebration of American cheese making, which, you know, was people just figuring it out as they went. It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It stands
Visually,
out on
visually
a
appealing.
cheese plate. It's got that kind of cake-like appearance. It's got those layers, and
I told Andrea for my birthday I just want to put candles in one of
you
the
said
5
during the
pound
tour.
forms
Yeah.
and just have that as a birthday cake.
Yes.
Because when you do slice it, you can see those different layers. It's like a bloomy rind on the outside, and then it has like a firmer layer maybe of cream. This is a cheese, I think you explained it yesterday, that it kind of ripens from the outside in.
yes.
And so as you get more into the center of it, it's creamier on the inside with that band of ash going across it.
We're going to post pictures of this cheese on our social media
It's
so everyone
so
can check it out.
Effing delicious.
Delicious.
Oh my God. But the all the different textures. That was one that was on your cheese plate that I ate
Yes.
a lot of.
We all know
I'm
how
not
I feel about
ashamed.
goat cheese.
I'm not
so
ashamed.
just
Yeah,
leaving
we're
that
gonna
here.
leave that out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, those cheeses ripen from the outside in, so that proteolysis just under the rind.
Yeah.
When it leaves the creamery here, it's very thin, hardly noticeable. But as it moves throughout the country all the way to the East Coast, that proteolysis grows. That's adding a lot of flavor and texture to the cheese. And it will continue. It won't go all the way through, but you can associate it with a brie that is ripened all the way through. But that's usually because they're flatter. They're not as tall. So the surface area to rind ratio is smaller. We have a higher surface area to rind, surface area to paste.
When did Cypress release that cheese? It's
1992.
wow.
Yeah.
And the Bermuda Triangle is the same cheese, just in a different shape and no line.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's interesting with soft ripened cheeses, you can make different shapes. You see that in Europe, different formats, but they won't taste the same. And that's a lot of factors, cheese mysteries, but also that rind to paste ratio has a big difference. So a triangle has a lot of rind. So we call that the cheese for the rind lover. but it also ripens a lot more quickly and develops the flavors that come with that ripening a lot more quickly and more intensely.
This season of Ingredient Insiders is brought to you by Bizzini Nuts, a name synonymous with exceptional quality and taste in the world of gourmet nuts and dried fruits. Whether you're crafting a Michelin star-worthy dish or just whipping up something delicious in your home kitchen, Bizzini's premium selection is designed to inspire your culinary creativity. Elevate your dishes with the rich texture and flavors that only Bizzini nuts can offer. From toasted almonds, perfect for garnishing, to pistachios that add a crunch to your salads, Bizzini has everything you need to enhance your recipes. Don't miss this chance to impress your palate and your guests with Bizzini nuts, the chef's choice for quality and flavor.
Is the Humboldt Fog the top seller of the company?
Yes.
So that's number one. What's number two?
Midnight Moon.
Midnight Moon.
Yeah, which rounds out our cheese line conversation. Midnight Moon and Humboldt Fog are both what a cheesemonger would call a gateway cheese to goat. A lot of people in the U.S. don't think they like goat cheese, but usually it's because they had a bad experience. Sometimes they just don't like it. That's okay.
It's okay, Andrea.
We're not for them.
I don't feel ashamed. I'm owning it.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I always try. So I'm hoping that one day I'll wake up and I'll love it.
Maybe. Or maybe we'll find a cheese that we can make that
You know which one I love?
Oh.
The lamb chopper.
Oh, yeah.
So
Sheep
it's a
milk.
sheep milk cheese, but
Wait, let's go back to the Midnight Moon.
Yeah, so Midnight Moon is made in the Gouda style. And I think so it's hard cheese. It's, when it's finished, it's aged about 6 months. And it has an amazing texture. So one really interesting thing is the crunch. People love that crunch in...
Is it crystals?
Yeah, so they're tyrosine crystals. It was explained to me, and fact check me on this because I am not a scientist, but it was explained to me that the tyrosine crystal formation process is similar to that proteolysis that you see in Humboldt Fog. It's protein breakdown. The result in Humboldt Fog is that liquidy, gooey layer. In Midnight Moon, it's those crystals that end up crunching. Some people think they're salt crystals. They're not. They're protein breakdown.
Love crunchy on those crystals.
so similar to like the crystals you would get in like a Parmigiano Reggiano.
Yes,
Or
tyrosine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then in the Gouda making cheese process, there is a step where they wash the curds. So after that curd formation, then they're adding water and they wash the curds, and that's pulling more of the acid out of the curds and results in a sweeter cheese flavor. Some people don't like Midnight Moon because it's a little bit sweet, and that is a big divide I've found with cheese people. If they like sweet cheese or they don't like sweet cheese. So Midnight Moon does have that, but it also has, it's sweet like a caramel is sweet. It's very rounded and deep sweetness, not saccharine sugar.
Almost like I love a Beamster aged Gouda.
Yeah.
Which has that caramel color even to it, but it is sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not like sugary sweet.
Right. Yeah.
I like
You
it
like
all.
it all.
I like it all. Like I like the sweet cheese.
Yeah.
But I also like the
I
more
like both.
savory.
Yeah.
So we've got Humboldt Fog, Midnight Moonlight.
Midnight
That's a
Moon.
song.
Midnight Moon.
Midnight Moon, and then is Purple Haze the next on the list that we should talk about?
We talked
We
about
talked
that
about
at the
that.
beginning, so I was moving from fresh
But I want to get
to
a little
soft
bit more
ripened.
into the detail of Purple Haze.
Oh,
because
okay.
I also find this one to be
Special.
so special and also quintessentially California because of what it's made with. So talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit more detail. So it's 100% goat's milk?
Yep. Whole goat milk, fresh cheese,
Yep.
and then we add wild harvested fennel pollen
From
California.
from California. So you know when you see herbs growing on the side of the road and they or your
Wild fennel.
herbs
It's all
or your
over this
herbs
place.
bolt and you're
Yeah.
like mad about that, right?
Yep.
Because you want the leaves from it.
Yep.
So if you tap off that from the flower, you get the pollen
Yeah.
out of there. And it is wild harvested, which I have not seen that being done, but I would like to someday.
And I'm fennel pollen crate. I love
Same.
black licorice. I love that flavor.
Yeah.
And so, but this cheese, I don't want to say, it's pretty subtle, but it's there.
I think the fennel pollen, it's very fennel pollen forward, almost lavender second.
Yes.
That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, and then the purple is the lavender.
Right.
Yes.
And it's also California lavender.
I don't.
We did see
know
some
for
lavender when we
sure.
walked into your...
Yeah, we just grab a little
just
on
grab
the way
it?
in the
Yeah.
office. Actually, I always do that and then smell my hands. We try really hard to be cheese forward. We're not trying to be a lavender company.
Of course.
And so we want to be cheese forward and then let the herbs and seasonings or secondary ripening cultures add to it, not take away from the cheese.
Was Mary a big like rock and roll music fan? Like to come up with the name Purple Haze for cheese, I think is brilliant and amazing.
I think, as far as I know, she was a big Jimi Hendrix fan.
Yeah.
So that's
God
where
bless
that one
Mary.
came from. Yep.
So good.
So
Yeah.
of those formats, we have the Purple Haze, we have Sergeant Pepper, Psychedelic, the new Meyer Lemon Honey. Am I forgetting any?
Fromage Blanc.
Fromage Blanc.
And then we have Humboldt Fog.
What's
Truffle
Sergeant
Tremor.
Pepper?
It has...
Sergeant Pepper's Lonely
Yeah.
Hearts Club Band. Another rock and roll cheese.
Yeah.
They're all
What is the
60s themed. The fresh, we call it the
discs.
flashback line, and they're all 60s themed.
Oh.
Some of them are more of a stretch than others, but that's why we call it psychedelic.
'Cause it has
Herbs
dill.
to
Oh,
Humboldt.
psychedelic.
Miss Natural is a riff on Mr. Natural. You know the reference? It's like
No,
a
and I'm old,
cartoon
too.
character. Yeah, I had to
Okay.
look it up too. Yeah. And then we have Truffle Tremor, Humboldt Fog, Midnight Moon, Lamb Chopper, and then we have launched a cheddar, a goat milk cheddar, for a cheese that Americans are ready for and already
Andrew, you love
understand.
that one.
Yeah. Sign me up. No, but John, when I saw it yesterday, I don't think I've ever seen a goat cheddar around. Have you?
Never.
So I think, in terms of like innovation and like listening to what people are eating, I mean, you said it yesterday, Americans love cheddar cheese.
Yeah.
So I think from a dietary perspective, like John was saying, like this is kind of answering that call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had it that it was cooked into
Mac and
a mac and
cheese.
cheese that
Yeah.
the team here was gracious enough to make for us for lunch, and it was awesome.
Killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for someone who doesn't favor goat cheese in their world, I ate quite a bit
Oh,
of
you
that mac and
did?
cheese. Yeah, because it was a lot of lamb chopper
Mixed
in
with
it.
lamb
Yeah.
chopper, yeah.
And I find
Yeah.
that the cheddar, it's not super powerful.
Yeah.
So-
It's a milder, it is aged, but it's a milder flavor profile.
Let's talk about another cheese that what was your favorite of the cheeses? You had one that you really loved.
It was a lamb chopper.
It was the lamb chopper.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which
Not
is
the cheddar.
No.
The lamb chopper.
Mhm.
Talk to us about the lamb chopper.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
So it's a sheep milk Gouda style
So this
cheese.
is sheep's milk. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's not aged as long as Midnight Moon. It's more 3 to 6 months, and it has a totally different flavor profile. I don't know if everyone understands this, but I think it tastes brothy, like a kind of like a chicken broth almost.
Interesting.
Or bouillon.
Mm-hmm.
And sheep milk is super delicious, high fat, and you can
It's
kind of
rich.
taste that in the cheese.
Yeah.
And these are, really high-end cheeses, but a little bit goes a long way. Whereas if you buy a cheese that was manufactured in a huge facility, less care was taken, you need a lot more of that cheese, in your mac and cheese. If you're using lamb chopper, you don't need that much.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of flavor out of it. And I think that's something we're evolving as a country as far as ingredients, seeing that you can use less of something like fennel pollen. You don't need very much fennel pollen.
No, but you get that
to
flavor.
Really, yeah,
Absolutely.
go a long way.
So let's talk about pairings and beverage pairings with cheese, because I think most of the cheeses we spoke about, yes, some of them can be used in culinary preparations, like we talked
Like
about
as
the
an
mac and
ingredient.
cheese
Yeah.
and used as an ingredient, or the
Yeah.
fromage blanc, but things like the Humboldt Fog and the Purple Haze, and a couple of the others that are what I consider like eating cheeses, like for a cheese plate.
Mm-hmm.
what do you suggest as far as like beverage pairings? Are these good with beer or wine or what? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, the answer is yes. They're great with all of those things. The range of cheeses means that we can pair with different things. We're trying to loosen the reins on pairings for people, and not be so specific. Let people explore.
Yep.
And really, it depends on what someone individually likes. Everyone's palate's so different.
Right.
But we do recommend one pairing that goes with all cheese, and that's sparkling wine. If you don't know what to buy, you're standing in front of the wine aisle or the beverage aisle and you don't know what to buy, pick a sparkling wine.
That's a great tip.
That's an awesome tip. And that Jen Sussman always tells me when I ask about like what to pair with certain cheeses, she always says, and she's a champagne lover, as am I, it's always, you can never go wrong with champagne.
Yeah.
And also to the, what you were mentioning earlier, I have a great French, it's a small cookbook. It's almost like a journal by the French chef who's the late, great Alain Sender-Don, who was like a Michelin 3-star chef in Paris for many years. And in his book, he talks about pairing wine and cheese, and kind of along the lines of what you said. In that book, he talks about keeping an open mind when it comes to pairing, because there's absolutely things that don't work.
Yeah.
But the only way to know is to try, because there's too many types of cheese and there's too many types of wine. And his whole thing is like, take a bite of the cheese, have a sip of the wine or the beer or whatever you're drinking. Did it work? Think about it. And if it didn't work, have a piece of bread, kind of cleanse your palate, and then
move on to the next.
Move on to something different.
Yeah. And take a small bite.
Because because you don't know what the perfect. Yes, there's port and Stilton, like that's a known thing. And there's beer and certain cheeses, which
like
I'm
cheddars.
not thinking exactly that work really well. But with the soft cheeses and the goat cheeses, you never know until you try it. And so for those in doubt, get a bottle of bubbles.
Yeah, something bubbly.
But for everybody else,
I wonder
don't
what
be
it is
afraid
about
to
the effervescence that is so good for cheese. Like, what is it about it? Do you know, John?
I have no idea. I mean, maybe it kind of cuts through the fat. Maybe,
they're like scrubbing bubbles, so they kind of work in your mouth and cut through the fat and
like
bring
opens it
up.
up. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Which is true for my brown soda loving sister over there.
That would be me.
One of our most unusual pairings is a classic Coca-Cola in the glass bottle, preferred with truffle tremor. That is an unlock. So I think
that.
we try not to steer away from a high-low.
That's a highbrow, lowbrow.
I love that.
We're big Coca-Cola drinkers.
Diet Coke all the way.
Mexican Coke for me any day. Yep.
Yes, with truffle tremor.
With truffle tremor.
Have to try that. I think last night we went to dinner, and I did want to touch upon this story because we sell food service, we sell to chefs, and I loved the story that you told about how Mary brought the cheese to market. Yeah, and we went and we ate at this restaurant that was it in
Trinidad, California.
Yeah,
gorgeous coastal community.
And Cypress Grove cheeses are all over their menu.
Yeah, and that is a small town within a small county, and they do an amazing job with our cheese. They serve a cheese board complimentary to every person that comes in there, and it has house-made pate and a pumpernickel bread. It's sort of unusual combinations, and then they have fromage blanc on there board in these little dollops, and it's quite artsy what they do, but they've been doing that since the beginning, and that's what motivated Mary to officially launch Cypress Grove was that restaurant called Larapin Cafe. And the original owner said that if Mary made the cheese legit, I'm not sure what she meant by that at the time, but more legit, that she would buy it, and that was enough for Mary.
That was like the spark that ignited, like, I can turn this into a business.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
And then we had a great dessert that, to me, it almost tasted like a really decadent cheesecake.
Yeah.
I don't remember what they called it on the menu, but it was so good.
They call it a cour de la creme. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a whipped goat cheese, sweetened fromage blanc and whipped. And I'm not sure what else they're adding to it, but it's something enough to sort of stabilize it. And they shape it into a heart. And then there's a chocolate layer on the bottom. It's very simple dessert. And if every restaurant sold as many of those as this tiny place in Trinidad sold, we would be
sitting on a yacht
Living
in the
large.
south of France right now. Is that what you're trying to tell us? I mean, this isn't bad
yes,
where we
that
are.
would be me. That would be me.
Okay, that's
I'm building a house right here. So, yeah, they do very well with it, and people love it. And I do not know where. I'm always joking, like, where are they burying all the fromage blanc that they buy? But it's going into those Coeur de la Cremes.
And that was another thing too. When I tasted that, I don't think I realized at the time that it was made with Cypress Grove
Fromage blanc.
goat milk fromage blanc.
Yeah.
Because the flavor was just so pure and creamy. And Michelle Glancy, our resident cheese expert at the Chef's Warehouse, was like, no, this is made with goat's milk. And I was like, I would never have known that.
Yeah. So goat milk, one other interesting thing is those fat globules. They need to be treated gently all the way along the process. When it comes from the goat, all the way until it's going into your mouth. Because when you bruise those fat globules,
I love when she says fat
it's so
globules.
hard to say.
Oh,
You
Just
have
makes
to
me wanna
focus.
say
Globules.
Fat globules.
Fat globules.
They release that caprylic acid. That's another fun one
I
to
was
say.
going to say, does that release caprylic acid when that happens? Okay.
Which is
Took the words out of my
that
mouth.
part that we are not going for here at Cypress Grove. It's goaty. It tastes goaty,
Yeah.
right? It tastes like a goat smells, and we're trying to lower that amount, so we treat it gently all along the way. That's super essential for a home cook or a chef. Like, please don't overmix it. Please don't blend it for a long time, because you're releasing more of that caprylic acid.
So the more you manipulate it, the more goaty it will become.
Over temperature abuse
Okay.
is a huge one. So mac and cheese worries me, because if it gets too hot in there, it can get goaty. So
Yeah.
you got to be gentle all along the way.
Gentle. Got it.
Yeah.
Yanni, thank you so much for taking the time to show us your beautiful facility, your beautiful town, your adorable goats.
I got to get back to the car soon because I've got
JJ's in
my
there?
my little JJ's
JJ
waiting
Jr.
for me. This has been
Incredible.
an amazing. Thank you for the hospitality. From the moment we got here, we've been treated like royalty. And
If you're ever in Humboldt County, California, definitely check out Cypress Grove
get your
and their
butts
cheeses.
to Arcata. This is worth the visit. Is the weather always this nice?
Unfortunately, no. It
Do you
stays
ever get
about
Humboldt?
this-
Do you ever get a fog in Humboldt?
Right.
Yeah.
I know you didn't see the fog, but yesterday when
We
you
saw a
we
little
came
bit,
in,
a
yeah.
drop of
it's
it.
foggy and it rains a lot here, which is great for
Growing
pastures.
grass. Growing grass.
And the redwoods, the
Growing
fog.
grass. I got
Double
it.
entendre.
got
Growing
it. Yeah.
grass.
Grass makes the world go round.
It sure does.
And the redwoods need the fog. I remind myself of that when I'm in a foggy place, that the redwoods absorb the fog through their bark. So that helps them get enough water.
We've been talking with Janne Rasmussen from Cypress Grove Creamery here in Arcata, California. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What an awesome time.
Thank
I'm ready
you.
to eat more goat
Yeah, let's go
cheese.
get some more cheese.
All right.
I need some more.
Hungry again.
Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Ingredient Insiders. Follow us on Instagram at Ingredient Insiders. You can find the products we discussed on today's episode at chefswarehouse.com or at your favorite specialty retailer.